snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys, I am here today to do the next one in the BooktubeSFF Babbles series, which is such a fun series. Every Thursday we get a topic and we have to upload a video talking about a theme within science fiction or fantasy, or talking about the BooktubeSFF Awards. This is only going on whilst the BooktubeSFF Awards are going on, so it's only lasting throughout March and April. If you want to know what the topic is each week, they are created by Paul from A Common Touch Fantasy, and he updates it on the BooktubeSFF Awards Goodreads group, which I have linked below so you can go and check it out. If you are taking part, don't forget to go and link your video on the Goodreads group so that everyone else who is taking part can go and watch it and comment and interact with you. This week's topic is favourite science fiction books. Now this one is a really exciting topic for me because I have quite a few that I really enjoy. You may have seen recently, I think 2 weeks ago, it was the place to begin with science fiction recommendations, and a few of the books from this list could easily have gone onto that list, but I wanted to have different things on each list so it wasn't me repeating myself. I'll put a link to that below. If you want to go and see places that I would recommend you start with science fiction, then you can go and check that video out. However, I would say that any of these are also good starting points because these are my favourite and I think they're all wonderful. The first one I have to talk to you about is a series that I just really enjoy. It's the Red Rising Trilogy by Pierce Brown. The first book in this series follows a young man called Darrow who has worked all of his life on Mars, trying to make Mars habitable and sustainable planet for all of civilization to come and colonize. He is part of the Red caste. There are lots of other colour castes in the society. Red is the lowest, gold is the highest, and we have other colours in between which all represent different things in the society. So the Reds are the hell divers. They are the ones who tunnel out planets and hopefully make them habitable. As we begin the story, we realise that Darrow unfortunately has been lied to his entire life, along with the rest of his civilization, about the fact that Mars has not been colonised and is unsafe for colonising. He actually has lived all of his life underground, mostly, and been tunnelling out these tunnels, but he has realised quite early on in the book that he's been lied to and he wants to get revenge. His whole life has been an absolute lie. Everything he's done for the good of humanity, believed he's working towards, has already been done. Mars has already been colonised, but the Reds don't know this and they are kept in the dark, and Darrow realises this is not right. He does not believe that the Reds should be kept in the dark and he wants to rebel, and it becomes a revenge quest for him. He has to try and infiltrate the Golds and find out what is going on in this system, how the Reds have been lied to and manipulated, and find a way of stopping it, changing things round, and shaking up this system that has so screwed over him and his civilization and his friends and his family. It's filled with fun, it is filled with action, it is filled with intensity, there is a lot of swearing, but it is so worth reading because it has some great moments, some really fun science fiction elements, and it does take a little while to wrap your head around everything that's happening in the story because it's a lot of different terminology that the author has made up, but it works and it's fun and it's really bloody damn good. The characters in this and the world within this is crazy. The first one I really enjoyed. The second one was a little slower paced, but I still enjoyed it. The third one was magnificent and I loved the third one. So I would definitely say this is a series to check out if you want something fast-paced, something exciting, something that's going to pull you into the action straight away and make you feel like you are part of this crazy world of Darrow and the other Reds and Golds. The next one on my list is Overland, the series by Tad Williams. It starts with City of Golden Shadow. I loved the first one in this series, even though I only gave it a 3.5 or a 4 stars. I loved it. It was so interesting, and I have to say, if you like Ready Player One, or you've at least heard what Ready Player One is about, which is largely virtual reality, then this is a better version of Ready Player One in my opinion, kind of. And when I say kind of, what I mean is this book isn't a standalone book. It can't be read on its own. It has to be part of a series because it doesn't have a good ending in my opinion. It's the start, the tip of the iceberg. The second book really opening things up even more and making it more expansive and interesting, but this book on its own, City of Golden Shadow, is not enough to give you a complete story. It's just the beginning. It opens everything up and it's really exciting the whole time. and then it just ends, and it's very abrupt, which is why I didn't give it 5 stars. So if you're ready for that going in, and you're willing to commit to the series, then you'll probably really like this. This has a very diverse cast of characters. Not only does it have people who have different orientations sexually, different nationalities, different races, different customs and cultures, but it's also a really great blending of society. It also blends fantasy and science fiction quite well. This has a world where society has developed to a point where virtual reality is the norm. Everyone is always hooked into VR, into the net, and it makes sense for everyone to be hooked into the net because the net has endless possibilities. People can create anything on the net. You can create entire worlds, entire civilizations that are 100% convincing because of how advanced this society is. And because of that, there is the fantasy element. Some of these worlds that are created on the net, even though it's virtual reality, feel like fantastical worlds. They have fantastical elements like huge, gigantic insects that buzz around, or crazy kind of wars that are going on. All sorts of things can be created on the net, and if you have the imagination, you can make it. We follow a character called Rainey, who is a young lady with a young brother who is quite addicted to the net. She is a tutor at a university teaching people how to use the net. So basically life revolves around the net a lot. She's based in South Africa and she meets an assistant there who is from the sort of rural Busherman tribes, and he comes to learn the net from her. But just as they are getting acquainted, she loses her brother because he seems to completely go inactive whilst he is online still, and she can get no response from him, and it appears to everyone as though he's gone into some sort of coma. She believes that it is something more than a coma and it's to do with the net, and she starts investigating with the help of Zabu, who is the person that she has befriended from the tribes, and they basically start investigating whether the net has caused this or not. It's a fantastic book. It's filled with diverse things, it's filled with great characters, it's filled with great moments, and I just loved it. But I will say it needs more than just this book. It's a long book, it's a dedication to join in with this series because they are long, but I really loved this and I powered through this book in like 2 days, and it was fantastic, and I loved it so much that I just went straight into the next one. Leading on from that one, I will then talk about Ready Player One, because that is also on my list of absolute favourites, and this one I did give 5 stars to. And I will say that I read Ready Player One before I read Overland, which is why I compare Overland to Ready Player One and not the other way around. But Ready Player One feels like a complete story. I think Ready Player One is a great science fiction entry point. It is very, very good for people who like games. If you like any sort of game, you'll probably enjoy it, especially if you like computer or console games, because this is very, very rooted in games and sort of nerdy culture, and it's really entertaining. This is by Ernest Cline. I didn't love Armada by Ernest Cline, which was his second book, but this one I thought was so good, so fantastic, and filled with great moments. The characters within this aren't the best developed, but the world is fantastic and the plot of this is really exciting. We basically follow a character who has to discover Easter eggs within a game when the maker of the game has died, and he has basically left his world open for anyone who plays the game to find the key that will let them own the game and win millions and be basically inherit his fortune. So it's kind of an Easter egg hunt. It's kind of a hunt around this game, this virtual reality game, and it's crazy, it's wacky, it's fun. Really good for people who want something that's exciting and makes you think out puzzles and makes you try and guess what's going to happen next. If you like any of that, and if you like computer games, I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. I haven't met someone yet who's really disliked this. Most of the people I know have loved it, so I would definitely recommend that one. The next one on my list is actually one of the BooktubeSFF award nominees that I read very recently. That is Illuminae, which is by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is a YA science fiction book, which is a great entry point into science fiction generally. It's told largely through case files and transcripts and emails, so it's all sorts of different formatting. The one thing that did annoy me about this is that the swearing is blanked out. I'm not really sure why, because I think swearing's fine, but it kind of irritated me a bit. But other than that, I thought this was fantastically well written, really adventurous, very focused on the 2 main characters who are a ex-couple. They were a couple and then something happened and everyone had to escape a planet, and then they weren't a couple, but then they started emailing each other and kind of having a long distance relationship. It's very focused on that, but it doesn't go into really kind of icky, mushy, romancy stuff that isn't really exciting. Their relationship feels very genuine, it feels very modern, it feels very fun and quirky, and they feel like good characters who are very interesting. We also get a sentient AI talking in a large part of this book from the halfway point onwards. That was fascinating. I always find AIs really fascinating, especially the debate about sentience, and I think this book deals with that pretty well. I'm really looking forward to the next one in this series, seeing where that's going to go, because this one feels like it could just be a standalone, but it's not, so I don't know where the next one's going to take us. But I really enjoyed this, and it's a very fast read, very fun, and I loved the way it was told. And I look forward to seeing more from this series, so that's cool. And the final one that I have on my list of favourite science fiction is actually my favourite science fiction, and that is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This book is incredible. It is everything I love in science fiction. It has diverse characters, it has a mix of a space crew made up of humans and aliens, it has travelling around space, it has people talking about big, debatable, kind of controversial topics. It has really interesting cultures and religion and ideas and customs that you kind of confront whilst you're telling the story. It has some amazing moments between characters, some interactions between them that I really enjoyed. It made me smile, it made me laugh out loud, it made me cry, it made me so emotional. And it was wonderful. It was a fantastic read from start to finish, and it was truly a happy book that made me happy, and a book that was so charming and so adorable and so filled with positivity and love, but also had some really sad, heartbreaking moments. I think this covers so much, and it's quite a short book, so for the amount of pages it has, it covers a huge amount of stuff. And I loved it, and I'm so excited that Becky Chambers is writing another book set in the same universe now. It's just fantastic that she's writing more, because I loved this and I would highly recommend this. If you're going to check out any of these, I would say this one is one of my top choices, because although I love all of these for very different reasons, this one I feel is accessible to anyone. You don't have to have a huge knowledge of science to understand this at all. You really don't have to have any knowledge of science other than knowing that spaceships fly. You're pretty good otherwise. It really works as a story. It's a comprehensive, standalone story that works so well on its own, and it left me just wanting to know more and more and more about the customs and the aliens and the cultures within this universe. I loved it, and it was fantastic. So those are my best science fiction reads to date. I'm sure that I will find more to add to this list the more sci-fi I read. If you guys have any really, really wonderful science fiction reads that are your top, let me know in the comments below which your favourite ones are and which you would recommend I pick up soon. Or if you've read any of the ones that I mentioned, then let me know that below as well. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all again soon in another video. Bye!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.